Good morning. It's Tuesday, April the 28th, and I've got your bell ringer answer from Monday. We're dealing with population geography and reviewing that portion of the material to get ready for the AP exam. And we start off with the question of what's the difference between crude birth rate and crude death rate? What do you get when you combine those two things? Crude birth rate is the crude birth rate and crude death rates are numbers per thousand that indicate how many babies are being born per thousand people in the population, or how many people are dying per thousand people in the population. CBR minus CDR equals RNI, rate of natural increase. And rate of natural increase is always given as a percentage. Okay, that is very important. RNI, of course, is used then to help us calculate doubling time. Okay, and RNI should not be confused with total fertility. They are used for very different things. Okay, so you're then asked, what are some positives and negative consequences of high and low RNIs? So let's start off with the high rate of natural increase, some positives. As you have a high rate of natural increase, you are creating more customers, okay? More people to buy products. Another positive is you're creating more workers. So as the supply of labor rises, if the demand for labor is unchanged, prices for labor will fall. That should mean that production should become cheaper. Okay. You also have more taxpayers. Now, that's a little bit of a problem in a modern society. Historically, more taxpayers were good. It helped you fund things like large building projects or having a war. Today, with the large number of government programs, more taxpayers, yeah, that does help you get more money, but the expenses that the government has based on more citizens are always increasing. So that's a little bit of a problematic answer. You need to explain that the government will be better able to fund its existing programs because more people are paying taxes, but that's still a little bit of a stretch. Okay, let's talk about some of the negatives of a high rate of natural increase. So you're going to have more people who need to be fed, more people who need to be housed, who need jobs. So you have to create more jobs, find more food, find more housing for all of those folks. Remember, RNI is about population increase. CBR, crude birth rate, is not necessarily about population increase. Your CBR can be high, but your population isn't rising, okay, because of the death rate. RNI, on the other hand, when it goes up, the population is rising. So it is safe to say anything associated with a rising population. All right, let's talk about low RNI. Here's some of the positives. As your RNI declines, you start moving through demographic transition. You move from stage 2 to stage 3, from 3 to 4, and 4 to 5, all things that are seen as good socioeconomic progressions. And you would go on to then explain how countries want to get from that pre-industrial to industrial to post-industrial society, and controlling their birth rate and controlling their death rate, and as a result lowering their rate of natural increase is extremely important. Another positive with the low RNI is you start to drive down the out-of-control population that stresses your resources. As your RNI drops, you have fewer people you have to feed, fewer people you have to house, and as a result you are cutting down fewer trees, transforming less of the Earth's surface, at least in theory. Okay. All right, negatives from low RNI. Almost all of our measures of economic growth assume that there will be more customers to buy more items. As your RNI goes down, you have fewer people to buy those items, and you will potentially slow down your economic growth. You will have fewer workers to fuel your factories, your warehouses, all of those sorts of things, because you have fewer people. You also start to experience graying as your RNI goes down, because you are having fewer, you are more than likely having fewer babies being born, and you start to experience people who are a society that begins to age. That one's a little bit of a stretch. I wouldn't necessarily go down that path, but okay. So there you go. Some basics to get you thinking about R&I, rates of natural increase. I really strongly encourage you to go back and make sure you look at all the terms associated with population geography and make sure you understand them clearly, especially when they talk about rates versus whole numbers. You never want to use a rate in place of a whole number or a whole number in place of a rate. Also, know which things control the demographic equations. Things like know which variables drive other variables, knowing that CBR and CDR are what drive rate of natural increase. Okay, not the other way around. Rate of natural increase does not drive crude birth rates and crude death rates. Okay, so please make sure you're doing your review materials. I'll be back tomorrow with yet another answer for your bell ringer. Have a good day and stay safe.